And welcome back, everybody. Glad you are watching the show. Now to the murder case that has us all riveted. Court documents revealing secret life insurance policies, stolen money, and the hiring of a private investigator to dig into the death of a Utah man whose wife allegedly poisoned him with a spiked drink. Now, that wife, Kouri Richins, was arrested and charged with killing Eric Richins last year during a quiet celebration at their home in Camas. A medical examiner said he had 5 times the lethal dosage of fentanyl in his system at the time of death. Weeks before that arrest, she sat down right here for an interview with Surae and Deena. I was off that day. You two were here doing that interview. Let's start back at the very beginning. Girls, how did she come on the show and why?
I'm glad we're talking about this because I think we've all gotten so many questions. So I think we can really explain to our viewers how it all happened. So Good Things Utah is a combination of people writing into the show to come on and promote something or to tell a story, and all of us, our team, reaching out and finding people to bring on in the community. So with Kouri Richins, this was a case where she wrote into the station and said, I have a children's book that I just wrote. It's about grief. I'm a recent widow of a year. I would love to come on. Our executive producer got the email. They exchanged a couple of emails, and very quickly after, she was booked.
So describe the interview, Surae. Was there anything that you thought was out of the ordinary?
Well, I think when she came on, we want to give everyone, obviously, their chance and their platform to talk about either grief or helping other people. And in this case, she came on with her book and wanting to help other kids and other families talk about this really hard subject. So she came on, this is a couple months ago, and she wore her jacket. We both thought, Deena, that she didn't take off her jacket. She felt she was just emotionless. And it's so weird looking
sitting
at
right
that.
Where you are sitting today.
Right here
Yes.
today, just inches away.
So Surae, can I ask you this? I mean, often on the show, we don't probe into the reasons why you wrote a children's book on grief and death, and your husband has just passed. But you did ask her a very pointed question. Why?
Well, a lot of times we, as another mom, think about putting yourself in their position. So I thought, a year ago, your husband dies. You have 3 small children. You were able to grieve and process. And this will, I'll also remark, she said, my husband died suddenly. It was a shock. And then she stopped talking. Usually people will say, hey, it was a medical condition. It was something A, B, or C. She didn't say anything else. And I thought, it just like a little thing went in my head, like, okay, that's interesting, but we're not gonna pry, and people process things in very different ways. So anyway, I did ask, I said, how were you able to process just a year ago, and you were still raising 3 small children, and then write a book, and then ask to go on a TV show to talk about the book that you are promoting? I thought I wouldn't be able to do that as in her position.
And her response was?
Well, I didn't find any books that could help, which there are many resources out there. And then she went on to go into detail about how she investigated into Amazon how to write a book. And so that to me didn't have any emotion whatsoever about grieving, and it was hard, it was difficult, it was challenging.
So the interview ends, and as we typically do, if we have time in between the next interview, we chat. And Deena, you got to do that with her for several minutes after?
For quite a while. I mean, I wasn't in probably the next interview or two, so I had a chunk of time where we just sat and talked. And again, you know, you said we always take the side of our viewer. We want to show our viewers off, or our guests, we want to show them off in the best light. I'm connecting, I'm trying to, you know, ask her a little more. I'm thinking, this poor mom who's now finding herself as a single mom. So I'm asking her about that. What is that now like now that you don't have your partner? You have 3 small kids. And that's when she said, well, we do think that it was COVID. He had COVID and he has a lung issue, and that's what happened.
This perspective from the two of you is so interesting. I know you've been asked about it over and over since this interview. What has life been like? Who has interviewed the two of you since that happened?
That surprised
a whirlwind.
me that so many have reached out. Who was the first to reach out? Was it Dan Abrams?
It was Banfield.
That's Ashley Banfield.
Ashley Banfield,
wow.
With Nexstar, News Nation. She has her nighttime show after Brian Abrams.
Dan Abrams, a contributor on Good Morning America.
So I did this interview and Zoom at my home. I'm trying to do all the lighting and trying to do this last minute because they really wanted the interview. Ashley. And then Dan Abrams reached out. And then Inside Edition.
And I can't remember what happened with Ashley. I couldn't do that. But the next few, we were able to sit down together, kind of both share the story. People are very interested to see her book. Again, their number one question is always, did you have spidey senses during that interview? We just talked to People magazine. That comes out, I think, in a couple of weeks.
People magazine, really. Hindsight's always 20/20, though. I mean, this is a show and a platform where we talk about the good things in Utah. So to wonder why you didn't dig deeper on this, that, or the other, it's not typically the platform right here that we do that.
But here's the thing, we can Google somebody's name, we can look up their Instagram, we can look up their social media, but when people said she's a suspect, she's being investigated, how did you not know? Well, we'd never take that deep of a dive, and it was all signed, sealed court documents.
So you're seeing her, she's had, that's her in court now, arrested just weeks after the interview on the show.
Right, so we had no inkling until right before her arrest, and to see her in shackles. What an interesting moment to see when she was just here. And also on that note, Deena, all of her search warrant and court documents were sealed, so we couldn't see them.
Surae, grab the book.
Yeah, okay.
Because it's right there. That's what she showed on the show.
Up until it was all public, and we all saw this news, just before everybody saw it. So our minds were just as blown.
So this is the reason why she reached out to the station. Are you with me? She wanted to promote this book. She said that she wrote this book with her kids. And
we're talking again about Kouri Richins, who has now been arrested for the murder of her husband. And she is currently being held, but weeks before, right here where Surae is sitting, talking about this book.
And to me, again, she is accused of murder, so we want to say that this is still in the court system, but I can't help but feel that this whole story is twisted, and these 3 young boys do not have their parents at this moment. So this book is dedicated, it says, to my amazing husband and a wonderful father. And that to me is so striking, that you decide allegedly to write about your husband that now you're accused of killing.
Interesting, the word you use is eerie. I've heard both of you say that over the last several weeks. Finally, we're out of time, but
I know.
But anything you would have done differently, looking back, anything you would have said differently?
I don't know if there's anything that I could have or we could have said or done. I mean, there's no way to know that, but it's just interesting talking about hindsight going back. She was very stumbly with her words, and I thought, oh, she's probably grief-stricken. She's still grieving. Yeah. She seems a little bit maybe in shock, and that's why she's not emotional. But now I think, is it because everything coming out of her mouth that day was a lie?
You're second guessing it now.
Yep. And then just a shot of this book. Yeah. Throughout this book is an angel figure of Dad. And to me, even more, like this, just the story that comes out, and allegedly the motivation in court documents really point to financial reasons. And it just, this whole story just kind of sickens me, to be quite honest.
Very interesting that we are here to tell people stories, and you two became part of the story this time on this interview.
And it's interesting, we've never been interviewed by Nicea DeGuering.
I mean, out of all the interviews that we have done so far,
this is the most meaningful.
I tried to go easy on you too. I tried to go easy because I like you so much.